A lot of you think you have more time than you do. You keep saying, I'll deal with this later. I'll stop eventually, or I just need more time. But what you don't realize is you're not just delaying a habit, you're delaying obedience to God. And those are not the same thing. Because when God shows you something in your life that needs to change, that's not a suggestion. That's not something to get around to. That's a moment of conviction. And conviction is meant to be responded to immediately. But instead, you pause it. You push it off. You tell yourself you'll come back to it when it's more convenient. And slowly, without even realizing it, your heart starts getting used to disobedience. That sin you keep going back to, that thing you know isn't right, you've learned how to live with it. Not because you think it's okay, but because you've convinced yourself you have time to fix it later. But listen to this. In the book of James, chapter 4, verse 14, it says, "How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while, then it's gone." This verse isn't just saying life is short, it's exposing something deeper. You are making plans to change your life based on a future you don't control. You're assuming you'll have another chance to respond to God, another moment of conviction, another opportunity to get serious. But what if you don't? And even if you do, every time you delay, something dangerous happens. Your sensitivity to sin decreases. What used to convict you strongly now barely bothers you. What used to feel wrong now feels normal. And that's not because the sin changed, it's because your heart did. And the longer you sit in that, the easier it becomes to keep saying later. You say you love God, but you're choosing sin knowing what it cost him. In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26, it says, "Dear friends, if we deliberately continue sinning after we have received knowledge of the truth, there is no longer any sacrifice that will cover these sins." This is one of those verses people don't like to think about because it forces you to be honest. This isn't talking about someone who struggles, falls, and gets back up. This is talking about someone who knows the truth and chooses to keep living in sin anyway. You know it's wrong. You felt the conviction. God has already made that clear. But you keep going back. Not because you don't know better, but because you're delaying change. And when you keep choosing sin like that, you're not just struggling. You're treating grace casually. And this is where it gets serious. Every time you say later, what you're really saying is what Jesus did on the cross can wait. Think about that. Jesus didn't delay for you. He didn't look at your sin and say, I'll deal with that later. He didn't wait until it was convenient. He stepped in immediately and took the full weight of your sin on himself. In Romans chapter 5, verse 8, it says, "But God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners," while you were still in sin. Not when you cleaned yourself up, not when you got serious, while you were still in it. He didn't hesitate. He didn't delay. He went to the cross knowing exactly what it would cost him. And now you're looking at that same sin he died for and saying, I'll deal with it later. That should hit you. It hits me. Because when you truly understand the cross, sin stops being something casual. It's not just a struggle. It's not just something I'm working on. It's something that nailed Jesus to the cross. So when you continue in it knowingly and you keep delaying dealing with it, you're not just hurting yourself. You're disregarding the cost of what he did, not by accident, but by choice. Jesus didn't die so you could manage your sin. He didn't die so you could schedule obedience. He died so you could be free. In Luke chapter 9, verse 23, it says, "Then he said to the crowd, 'If any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross daily, and follow me.'" Daily. That word matters. Because following Jesus isn't something you do later. It's something you choose now, every day. Dying to yourself, saying no to sin, choosing obedience, that's not a future decision. That's a present one. You don't need more time. You need to respond. That thing you've been putting off, you already know what it is. God has already shown you. You've already felt it. You don't need another sign. You don't need another video. You don't need more time. You need to stop delaying and start obeying, because one day you won't have the option to say later anymore. So what do you actually do about it? Because hearing this and doing nothing, it's just more delay. If you're serious about getting this sin out of your life, it's not going to happen by accident. It's going to take intentional, immediate action. First, you need to stop relying on willpower and start walking by the Spirit. In Galatians chapter 5, verse 16, it says, "So I say, let the Holy Spirit guide your lives. Then you won't be doing what your sinful nature craves." A lot of you are trying to fight sin by trying harder. More effort, more discipline, more pressure on yourself. But the problem is, willpower runs out. You can be strong for a moment, but if your life isn't actually surrendered to God, you're going to fall back into the same patterns. Real change doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from walking closer. When you're actually spending time with God daily, in His Word, in prayer, your desires begin to shift. You don't just fight sin better, you start wanting it less. Second, you need to replace the sin, not just remove it. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22 to 24, it says, "Throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy." You can't just say, "I'm done with this," because if you remove something and don't replace it, you leave space for it to come right back. If your sin lives in your habits, then your freedom has to live there too. Replace the time, replace the routine, replace what you run to. Because transformation isn't just about stopping something, it's about becoming someone new. And finally, you need to act now, not later. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2, it says, "Indeed, the right time is now. Today is the day of salvation." Not when you feel ready, not when it's easier, not when life slows down. Now. Because the longer you wait, the easier it becomes to keep waiting. And before you know it, later becomes your lifestyle. You don't need another moment to think about it. You don't need to sit on this. You don't need more time. You need to respond to what God is showing you right now. Don't close this video and go back to the same thing. Let this be the moment you actually do something about it. If this hit you, don't ignore it. Respond to it. If you know there's something in your life you've been putting off dealing with, don't scroll to the next video and forget about this. Do something about it. And if you want more content like this that actually challenges you and pushes you to grow in your faith, subscribe and leave a comment down below for something you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.